I would like to ask the Minister for Policy Reform if he will make a statement on the meetings organised to inform the public about the proposed rates reform.
The Minister to reply. Mr Thomas.
Thank you, Mr President. The public meetings were organised to give the public an opportunity to come and hear about the proposed rates modernisation prospect, to ask questions and also to make suggestions, and most importantly to provide an opportunity for me and the officers to listen, to learn, as well as to explain and engage. Before each of the public presentations and discussions, there was a workshop for local commissioners, and those have been very helpful as well. They've been held in schools, secondary schools, and there's plenty of room this evening in Onken and tomorrow in Ramsey for the public to come along to participate in those presentations and for commissioners to come to the workshops that precede them.
Supplementary question, Mr Moorhouse.
Thank you, Mr President. Unfortunately, many constituents and myself had prior engagements on Friday. Could the Minister explain why there was such a small amount of time between the meetings being announced and them taking place?
Minister.
Thank you. There was a week between the meetings being announced and them taking place, and in part that was to be respectful to the Tynwald Order Paper and Tynwald members, and in part that was to do with when the decision was taken to go ahead with putting this business on the Order Paper. Any apologies if a week was insufficient notice, but I'm delighted with the excellent participation we've had from commissioners and the public at these meetings. It's been very helpful for me and officers to listen and to learn, and I hope that honourable members in this honourable court have been hearing back from constituents to help them understand better their positions in the forthcoming debate in Tynwald, which can be very important for a worthwhile and valuable rates modernisation.
Mr Moorhouse.
Thank you, Mr President. How were the people of the South made aware of the meeting held on Friday night? Were traditional methods like posters placed on notice boards and advertisements in local newspapers? Several constituents have raised concerns about not being made aware of the meetings, particularly those that are digitally excluded.
Mr Thomas.
Thank you. Yeah, traditional methods were used, but not posters and notices in commissioners' offices. So, for instance, I want to thank the newspapers, the radio stations and other media outlets for the extensive coverage they've given at the meetings. This issue came up in both the meetings, and the public there said these meetings were very well advertised when they was accused of it, and they expressed their disappointment to me that there weren't more members of the public who'd taken advantage of those opportunities. But the most important thing, and I'm sure the questioner shares this understanding of the importance, is we have two more meetings in Bemmerheg School at 6 o'clock this evening and in Ramsey Grammar School at 6 o'clock tomorrow evening, and I would hope that the media once again would work with us to make sure that the public can take the opportunity of the fact that officers and I will be there to listen, to learn, to engage, to explain, and all the other things whereby going out into the island can be helpful and will be helpful for the forthcoming two meetings.
Honourable Member for Douglas East, Mrs Barber.
Thank you, Mr President. I wonder, the Minister's touched on the fact that he feels they were well advertised. Could he advise what the attendance was to see whether they were well attended? And if the attendance wasn't as good as he'd hoped, which he's implied, could he advise what he thinks the mismatch might be between the advertisement and the attendance at those meetings?
Mr Thomas?
A week is quite a long time. It's not a very long time, Mr President. Twitter was used, the other social media outlets the government runs were used. You can't make people come to public meetings. They were very valuable public meetings. Everybody there was worthwhile from my point of view. We've had masterclasses at each of the meetings on rates modernisation, and what we can, if honourable members want to have the expectations of public notices and the like, that's extra cost and extra bureaucracy and responsibility for organising meetings. The opportunity has been provided, it's been well advertised, and I hope the Tynwald debate will be informed by public engagement.
Mrs Barber.
Yes, sorry, I think the Minister forgot to answer just how many people came. And if I could also suggest that if members members are made aware of this, we all also have access to our constituents and would be more than happy to help in that engagement process if we could be asked. But the first part of the question is more important to me. How many came?
30 to each of the public meetings, and members, I think, were informed of all the public meetings. I do recollect that the officer in charge did bring to the attention of all members the public meetings.
Final supplementary, Mr Moorhouse.
Thank you, Mr President. Given that you've identified 30 people at each of the meetings, was the list of names provided because people attended?
Minister.
No, but I could probably tell you 50 of them. They're fascinating people and had an incredibly valuable insight into the rates modernisation project.